Hey, welcome to the September Health Summit. We are super excited to be with you today. It's actually quite an honor to be speaking to you. We've got our panelists on board, and we're going to be talking all about holistic health. And if this is your first time joining us, this is really a culmination of our own experiences as individuals and what we've learned about holistic natural health over the course of the years. So we are all passionate about sharing that knowledge, sharing the wisdom that we've picked up with you. That's why this is a free challenge. We do it every month, the first Monday of every month. So we welcome you. My disclaimer is none of us are licensed doctors. So if you have a doctor, somebody that you see, we're just saying, check with them before you act on anything that we're sharing here tonight. But I can speak for me, and I'm sure for the rest of the panelists here, we vouch personally for everything that we talk about because we've experienced it. That's what we do. We share what we experienced. At the end of the summit tonight, if we have some time, we'll open it up for some Q&A. We can bring you on camera, or at least allow you to talk. If you've got some questions, we're more than happy to do that. And I don't know, did I miss anything, Kristen?
I think that's it.
All right. So I think, Kristen, you are kicking us off tonight. So why don't you get this party started, as they say.
All right, fabulous. Thank you so much, Robert. So I am super excited for this health summit tonight and excited for all of you who are here, either watching this live or on the replay. So my name is Kristen Hotop. I am a certified holistic nutritionist and a gut health and nutrition coach. And tonight we're going to talk about, do your favorite foods hurt? So have you ever been eating your favorite foods and your stomach feels a little bit crampy or bloated? Or have you ever had an allergy test that came back to find out that you were allergic to all of your favorite foods? Well, there is a reason behind why that happens sometimes. So we're going to look at that and some things that you can do if that is the case for you. All right, so let's move on to the next slide here. Just went too fast there. So our agenda tonight, we're going to look at 3 points: gut killers, leaky gut, and gut repair. So that is how we're going to move through this segment of tonight's program. So let's just jump right into those gut killers. So these are the things that are going to damage your good gut bacteria. So if you have not been in on some of the other summits, I talk a lot about the importance of the balance of good bacteria with bad bacteria and making sure that the bad bacteria don't overtake that environment, because that is where we end up in situations where we don't feel good and maybe we have some mood or other brain issues, and that can affect our total body. So these gut killers here on the slide: too much alcohol. So now it doesn't say that you can't ever have alcohol, but an excessive amount of alcohol causes inflammation in the body. And so you'll find as we go through that inflammation is going to be a very common theme. So if you like to have a drink occasionally, that's totally fine. But at the point where we start to have that excess is where the inflammation can start to take place in the gut. Number 2 there in the middle and top of the slide is antibiotics. So if we think about the word antibiotics, anti means against, biotics means life. So antibiotics, when you take them, they don't know the difference between the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. Now, I'm not saying that you should never take antibiotics. I'm saying that you should be cautious and only use them for those serious illnesses that need to be treated by that sort of medication. The other thing you need to remember is that whenever you take an antibiotic, you should also take a probiotic. So you want to get those good bacteria back in because the antibiotics have killed them all. Number 3 is sugar. So there are so many different added sugars in all of the foods that we eat, and even the products that say no sugar added or zero sugar, they still have artificial sugars in them in most cases. In fact, you'll find even sometimes things that you wouldn't think have sugar, like your pasta sauces have a lot of sugar, your ketchups, other dips are notorious for having a lot of sugar in them. And again, sugar causes inflammation in the gut. So if you can get those natural sugars, those are going to be a healthier option. And we'll get to more of that here in a little bit. The next one down here on the bottom is stress. So stress in your body, again, causes inflammation. Now, we all have some stress, and not all stress is bad, but it's the point where you can have constant or chronic stress that starts to impact those gut bacteria, and they can't live and they don't have a very good life when they are dealing with that constant stress. So finding a way to relieve some of the stress in your life, we'll talk about those ways in future summits, but just thinking about and being aware of what types of stresses are you dealing with in your life. Down here on the bottom, we have processed foods. So processed foods have a lot of added ingredients to them. Many times you've got those sugars that we already talked about. We've got refined grains where they've taken a lot of the good stuff out of the food. They also have preservatives. So preservatives act in the body like antibiotics. And so if we think about a preservative, it makes your food last longer. Well, if it's making it last longer because it's preventing the bacteria or molds from growing, think about what it's doing in your body when you eat those types of foods. So I was working on another presentation, and one of the things that was in there was the longer the life of your food leads to the shorter life that you have. And so that was really powerful to me, and something that made me really stop and think, okay, what am I putting into my body that's in these foods? And then the last one down here on the bottom of the slide is cigarettes. So we know that cigarettes are harmful for the body, but cigarettes also cause heartburn, inflammation, and ulcers. And so not just the fact that it harms our lungs, but it also harms our gut. So those are the 6 gut killers. So let's talk about leaky gut. Well, we've talked in the beginning, and I asked you the question, have you ever had an allergy test or foods that made your stomach hurt? And those come from a condition that is sometimes called leaky gut. So your gut is designed to keep the food in there. So I'm making a symbol here to illustrate the tight junctures that your gut should have. And as you eat those gut killer foods, those tight junctures start to come apart. They start to become loose. And that's where we get that term leaky gut, because the proteins that should be staying in your gut are leaking out into the bloodstream and causing more inflammation, and sometimes even causing autoimmune conditions where your body starts attacking itself because those proteins that are now in your bloodstream are foreign invaders. So that is one of the things why we want to avoid those gut killers, is we want to lessen the impact or the possibility of that leaky gut. So what can we do? Well, this last segment we're going to talk about tonight are the 4 R's of gut restoration. So if you've got those situations where you can't eat your favorite foods, or you've had an allergy test that shows that your favorite foods you're allergic to, it's probably because you have at least some form of leaky gut. And so we want to go through these 4 steps for gut restoration. And so this is not my research. As Robert mentioned in the beginning, we are not doctors. If you've got a doctor, make sure you consult your own doctor. But this comes from Dr. Jeffrey Bland and his colleagues who developed this formula, if you could call it that, in the 1990s to help people who are having issues with their gut. So number 1 is remove. So removing means you're going to take out the foods that are offending, and we also want to take out the bad bacteria. So we want to get rid of the things temporarily in terms of the foods, and hopefully long-term in terms of those bad bacteria. So we got to clear the slate. We got to clean the slate first. Then we want to replace. So we want to replace the digestive enzymes. So when our gut is damaged, it has a hard time breaking down those foods and digesting the foods that we are eating. So we want to replace those digestive enzymes. And we can do that with foods such as mangoes and plantains and pineapple. I know you've probably heard about pineapple, or at least experienced it when you eat it and it feels like your tongue is kind of tingly. Well, that's because that pineapple is actually starting to digest your tongue. And so it definitely helps down in your gut in breaking down those foods that you're eating. You also want to replace the good bacteria, which leads us right into step number 3, re-inoculate. So put the good guys back in. So hopefully we've been able to eliminate some of the bad guys by maybe eliminating some of those gut killers. And now we want to make sure we put the good guys in and work on overcrowding. So we don't want to only focus on remove. We also want to focus on crowding out the bad guys by making sure we're eating good quality foods and in the beginning, supplementing with probiotics. And then lastly, we want to repair. So in many cases, it's going to be important to make sure that we are repairing the gut with good quality supplements. And Dr. Jeffrey Bland recommends supplements such as omega-3s, magnesium. I was just grabbing the rest of my list to make sure that I got the right ones on there, and Bs. Omegas, magnesium, and Bs are a good place to start if you're finding yourself having those leaky gut issues and want to get some gut repair. So that is it. You have learned a little bit about leaky gut. You learned about some gut killers. And you learned how to take some simple steps so that you can start your gut on that healing process. So these are my 4 success steps in my coaching process, working on sustenance, which is the food and water that you take into your body. Mindset is how you approach your overall health. Exercise, we talked in many of the summits about how important exercise and body movement is, and we'll come back to those here again if you continue to join us here on these health summits. And then lastly, nutrition and supplements. What are you absorbing from your food, and what does your body need to fill in the gaps? You got this. I don't know if you saw that on that last slide there, but here's a little bit of my contact information. You can always contact me through Life Transformed in this community, and I look forward to seeing you in the future health summit. So super exciting. And I believe I am turning it over to Russell.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kristen.
Thanks, Kristen. Wonderful information. So let's see, let's share my screen here. All right, so I need to click on here and start the slideshow from where I'm at. Then let me start from where I'm at. Here we go. All right, everybody. Everybody wants to argue with me today. Here we go, from the current slide. There we are. Boom. All right. So, well, as you know, we've been talking about the ants, and this is our second of 8 that we're going to be going through. So, and the reason the ants are important is because, think about it. You have been in times where something happens. This ant species comes along, and as you think about that ant, you get sick to your stomach, just like, you know, Kristen was talking about, you get upset at your stomach and those things bother you. And so, you ever missed a great opportunity or something happened? And it's like, oh man, I can't believe I missed that. So many times our ants, which are automatic negative thoughts, cause us to do things that we really don't intend to. And what's bad about it, our ants lie to us. They steal our happiness. They do things that take away where we want to go. They get in the way of our moods. They reduce our ability to have the joy we want, and then our anxiety and stress and all these things goes up. So last week we talked a little bit about the all or nothing ants, or last month I should say. But now we're going to talk about just the bad ants. He's always thinking ants. Like it says there, they use words like never, every time, and everyone, like 4-letter words. And what I mean by that is they use them because they think of them as this is the way the world is. This is the way things are going. Nothing good ever happens to me. You always pick on me. All these things, but they never have anything good happen to them. But the thing about it is, good things happen to you all the time. You got to remember, you've got to go back and you've got to ask yourself these questions. Anytime this ant comes along, you got to ask yourself, is this true? You know, whenever you think about, well, you know, we argue all the time. Me and my wife, we always argue. Do you argue all the time? Do you have, every time you come together, I mean, even at breakfast, before you ever get the day started, you're already arguing. Is that true? And you know it's not. You know that you'll have a conversation from time. So is it 100% true? That's the second question. Is it 100% true? And he's like, well, no, it's not 100% true. So thing about it is, whenever you think about this ant that gets in your way, makes you feel bad, steals your mood, your happiness, what feelings do you have about it? What do you say about it? You know, when you have this thought, you think, well, you know, I just really feel bad. I hate it when I feel this way, and I don't like it. And we don't like it whenever we get these feelings that just overwhelm us. And you got to remember, these things lie to you. And so you go back and you think, okay, what would it be like if I didn't have this thought? It's like, well, I'd be happier. I'd be in a better mood. I'd be, you know, I'd really like the way things are going. And see, that's what you want. And so now, after you've gone through those 4 questions, you ask yourself the last question. So what is the opposite of this? And of course, the opposite is, well, you know, we don't fight all the time. You know, we're going to have our disagreements. But the thing about it is, you know, there's always the time you get to make up, you know, think about that. But the thing about it is, what are you doing? Are you always looking at things in the negative? Because your ants lie to you. They get in the way of you moving forward in your life. And every time we have this ant, it causes us to do things that we don't always want to do. Things like this might happen to you. You might have went to the library. Here you are in the library, having a great time, and a woman comes in with 20 children, right? And the children run over the library and say, oh man, I was having such a good time in the library. And then all these kids come in and says, you know, it's just ruined my day. I'm never going to go back there again. Would you never go back there again? You go to a nice restaurant, brand new restaurant. You heard is just great things about it. Oh, everybody tells me they've been to this restaurant in other towns and I just loved it. And because they got all the kinks worked out of it, you go in and you have a bad meal. And you think, I'll never go back there and eat again. And then, and you know, you find out that, you know, 6 months later, so, oh, that's the best restaurant in town. And you've already decided, are you going to go back? But see, so many times we do these things. We have things that come up in our life and we decide, well, I'm not going to do this anymore. I am going to not allow my life to be run by these things. The next thing I want to talk about is our guilt-beating ants. You see, whenever I was taking a look at this, I was thinking about who does some guilt beating. And as I was looking through the Bible, I found that Ruth was in one of those places. She says in there in Ruth 2:10, says, "Why have I found favor in your eyes that you should take notice of me?" And of course, then I like the one in 1 Samuel 18:18. It says, where David says, "Who am I that I should be son-in-law to the king?" You know, a lot of times these are things that we think about whenever we think about, you know, am I beating myself up? Am I saying things and doing things that, you know, I kind of beat myself up? And so many times we do. We want to do things right, but we don't always step out and do them the way we want to. So do you have a guilt-beating behavior that's going on? Are you deciding, oh, you know, man, I should call my mom, and you put it off? I know 2 or 3 weeks back, I was like, oh, I need to call my sister. And I go through and would call my sister. And then next, oh, I should call my sister. And I go through and and so basically I got to the point where I was beating myself up because I'm not calling my sister. I'm not taking the time to spend that I want to with my sister. And next thing I know, here I am beating myself up for not doing this. And so many times we're going to talk about things all through here, I mean, Kristen brought up a lot of things that we have a tendency to beat ourselves up about. Oh, I wish I could eat better. Well, she's giving you some really good reasons to eat better. Oh, I wish I could think better. I'm giving you some really good reasons here to think better. Don't beat yourself up. Decide what you're going to do. Again, those 4 questions, right? Is it true? Whenever you're thinking about what you're doing and where you're going, you got to ask yourself that question. Is it true? And you're going to, if you say yes to the first one, then you ask yourself, is it 100% true? And then you go through that part and you always go to the point where you're saying, if with this bad feeling, how do I feel? Oh, it's so important to make sure you check yourself out on why. You know as well as I do, when we have a bad feeling, the last thing we want to do is take and check into it. But if you don't check into it, you're not going to be able to get rid of it because, it's, oh, I don't want to. So check into it. Ask yourself, how do I really feel? How does this really make me feel? Because basically, you know what, if you don't check it out, you know what it's going to do? It's going to wake you up about 2 o'clock in the morning and you're going to lay in bed till 6 and you're going to go arms and you go, so, oh my gosh, where did I didn't get any sleep. And so all you got to do is kill those ants as they come along and kill them quick. And that's why these questions are so important. So whenever you have that thought, how would you feel if you didn't have it? I said, well, I feel better. I'd sleep. I wouldn't wake up at 2 a.m. And even if I did, I'd go right back to sleep. It's your choice. So don't allow guilt beating in these things. And then put the opposite on it. Maybe you're worried about something that happened at work. Oh, I got to go see the boss tomorrow. So, man, I'm going to get a promotion. Yeah, there you go. Think good. Because a lot of times, if you'll notice, whenever you go back and check out some of your ants in the past that have kept you awake at night, you found out, because I know I had one not long ago. It kept me just sick in my stomach for 2 or 3 days. And finally, I decided this is enough. I have allowed this to bother me to the point. What it was is there was a little slight fender bender at our church, and there wasn't any super damage, but I got in touch with them because I'm in charge of the parking lots. So, I went and I got a hold of the person. And what was really funny about it, the one that had the most damage, which it wasn't hardly just a little scratch. She said, oh, I had to rent this car for a short time. It won't be no big deal. I got insurance on it. It's like, here I was, losing sleep over something that I found out was not even a big deal to the person it happened to. And so, and you're going to find that over and over again. So don't allow that guilt beating ant, because I'd beating myself up because, I had to take care of this, had to do this. And so what's the opposite? The opposite is, well, it's going to be all right. The church has insurance. We got insurance. She hasn't. I mean, you never know what the truth is. Whenever you allow that ant, this is really what's really bad. We allow the ant to lie to us. We really have a hard time finding out what the truth is. So take a look at what's going on in your life. If you need to eat better, take a look at that. You need to stop drinking more. Now, like I said, a little alcohol is not bad, but alcohol does reduce the blood flow to your brain, which isn't good. That's why you get that. That's why you get lightheaded. And cigarettes reduce the blood flow to your brain. So think about what is it that I need to do. This health summit. I'm more about how do you want to think? How do you want to move forward? And whenever I say that, I want you to realize maybe you do need to think about the way you think about food. Whenever I lost weight, that was one of the biggest problems I had. I thought the wrong thing about food, and sometimes I use this guilt beating ant to beat myself up. Because I'd say, "Ooh, look at that ice cream." But the thing about it is, as you're moving forward in your life, what do you want? I mean, that's something you should be asking yourself all the time, what you want, and then ask yourself those 4 questions and use that turnaround and say, yes, this is what I'm gonna do. Pat yourself on the back when you do it. In the neuroencoding world, that is so important that we praise ourselves. You see, repetition is the mother of all learning. Praise is the father. So praise yourself. Like everyone else is going to say, we're going to give you some good ideas to go on here. And whenever you do it, whenever you walk past the ice cream aisle, or whenever you do whatever it is that you want to do, and you say, yes, I did that, and I am so happy. And you will find that little exercise will help you do it even easier. Well, that's 2 ants. We'll do 2 ants the next time. And here's my information. My name is Russell Shaw. I'm a life transformed licensed encoder, neuroencoding specialist and brain trainer. And if you want to set up a discovery call with me, calendbook.com, rshaw, pretty easy. And there's my email and my phone number. You can text me if you want to take a few minutes to discover if a discovery call is even something you're interested in. So
Russell, I don't see that on the screen.
you don't see it on the screen.
Oh, it's over there. There you go.
Okay. I don't know what happened.
All
All right.
right. Thank you so much, my man.
You're welcome.
All right, so I am going to shift it over to Sybil Marie, who is going to come to us via recording because she is traveling back from her vacation. So let's see if I can navigate this. Can you all see my screen right now? Yes, okay. Okay, I had it up here a second ago. Where did it go? Okay, there it is. Okay, here we go.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in, whether you are live or watching the recording, to our September Health Summit. So I
Little buffering here.
love welcoming September in because it is the month of my birthday. So that's fun. And I also love the transitionary of like summer to fall.
Oh, I don't know how I can.
We kind of get back into our routines a little bit, which is why I chose this topic. And well, I guess part of the reason why I chose this topic and like to teach about it in September, because oftentimes if you're a parent, you have your kiddos going back to school. If you're not a parent, you still feel that like the change is coming. And so to just dive right in here, I'll share my screen. We're going to talk about natural immune support because 'tis the season when we want to make sure that we are living empowered, and wellness really does start at home. So I hope to give you guys just a little bit of scratching the surface of how you can implement some things and just some basic information that you can now receive and hold on to make better choices and to kind of steward you in the direction of being your own best advocate. So I want to talk tonight a little bit about proactive versus reactive, which is kind of like the difference of modern versus natural a little bit. So I'll dive into that first. And then we're going to talk about tolerance and resistance just a tiny little bit. I've got a video I want to share with you guys, which has been really powerful for me since I've seen it many moons ago. I want to talk a little bit about what your thymus gland is so that you guys all know that we have that cool part of our body, what it does. And then of course, I'm going to touch on the top 10 essential oils for immune support because I love essential oils and they've changed my life. So let's dive right in. So proactive versus reactive. If you're from the United States, which most of you probably are, I am also from the United States and I've lived here my whole life, but I have traveled abroad and I read a lot about the difference between Eastern and Western medicine. And it's really frustrating for me because Western medicine kind of like teaches us that like, oh, there'll just be a pill whenever you need it for this instant gratification fix. So don't do anything now. Like, why do anything right now to better your health, right? I feel like that's kind of the message they give. And it's frustrating because there's a lot of people who work in the medical field who are loving, caring people who want to do good and who are here to help. But it just frustrates me that the education system and how it all trickles down is because they want to create lifelong clients and patients and consumers. And when I say they, I'm talking about big pharma and pharmaceutical companies. So I get really passionate in this area because there's so much we can do to be proactive and not just be
All right. Well, I apologize for that, everybody. Looks like Robert's feed cut out. So he should be back here with us momentarily. Russell had some really great points on those ants. So definitely thank you for sharing all of those. And I love how our presentations always seem to tie in together because the gut and the brain are connected, aren't they?
Oh, they are so much. And, you know, and so many people, you know, whenever I do this ant seminar, at different places, you know, when I get done, they say, you know what, man, the all or nothing. And I mean, it was funny. I did this at a school not long ago, and one of the teachers comes, she says, I've got to the point where I am all or nothing with my students. And so, you know, and so that's wonderful, you know, to think that, you know, because they're really good, they're really a good teacher. But, you know, whenever we do things so long, and all of us need to think about that. The ants, you know, start out small, and the next thing you know, these several show up, you know, and I love the way you brought everything in about the antibiotics and those type things. I've always felt antibiotics had their place and have been overused for some years, and I you know, I love what Sybil's talking about because who was it back in the 30s or 40s? No, probably before that, but back in the 30s and 40s, whenever pharmaceuticals took over, is whenever it was either Roosevelt or Rockefeller, probably Rockefeller. He bought into pharmaceuticals, and so basically he was the one who said that any natural medicines was dangerous. And so now it's just a common practice for people to believe, because it's been, look how long ago that was. I mean, for like 100 years now, people have been told that natural medicine is not good for them. What's interesting about that, we had a Chinese friend that would go home once a year, and she would always go back there to get her medicine because it was more natural.
Mhm.
So, and she had some health issues, but she got along really well. You wouldn't have never known it if you didn't know her. But she, you know, and so those natural medicines that you, especially you and Sybil talk about, y'all talk about so much. And I just wish people would realize to step in and take a look at some of the natural medicines. The problem is that our society doesn't help people with natural medicines, and if they can't afford it, they can't get it, and that's a
Right.
shame because it's so much better for them. A lot of times they could get off their medicine altogether if they could take natural medicines.
Mhm. Yep, exactly. So herbs have been used for thousands of years.
Yes,
You just
and they
have
don't
to.
just and they don't just hide it; they heal it.
Mhm.
So
Yep,
many of our
exactly.
medicines, so many of our medicines hide it, and they help with it, but they don't heal it. There's a few that do, but there's not that many. The number, I'm not a doctor, not a pharmacist, but that's what I've noticed, you know, from people I noticed and see. I mean, if I'm wrong, you know, put in the chat. I'm not trying to, like I said, I'm not a doctor. I can,
Mhm.
you know,
Well,
we have to,
you're right. A lot of doctors do the best they can with what they know, but
Mhm.
they're not trained in it because there's not money in it for the pharmaceutical companies. So if we
No.
look at what I studied when I got my certification, is most medical doctors only get 8 hours of nutrition training
Wow.
in their entire MD training and certifications, and so that's not nearly enough to know how to use food as medicine.
Yeah. Yeah. And our sad diet, as we call it in the neural coding, and you may call it that too, the standard American diet, is so bad on everybody. You know, in our disclaimer, this is our disclaimer with the Neural Coding Institute. It says the content from this curriculum is not a substitute for professional counseling or any mental health or medical treatment. Any information or advice on this website or in this training is not meant to diagnose, treat mental health or physical health disorder. Always follow advice from your doctor or psychiatrist. If any information provided in this curriculum contradicts recommendations or directions from your doctor, psychiatrist, or other mental health provider, disregard the information that you get from this and follow the advice of your medical or mental health provider. If you suspect that you have a mental health or medical condition, seek the advice of a professional. You know, and there's a difference between mental health and mental disorders. A lot of times people that have had a traumatic brain injury or been in a car wreck, or as, this is one thing that people don't realize is that people that do something like play soccer, and if they hit the head with the ball all the time, that can be, can cause
Okay,
enough
am I
damage.
back?
Yep, can cause enough damage for you.
All
to have
right.
damage. So people need to be aware of that. So.
Oh my gosh, he was here just a second ago and now he's
Oh,
gone
where was
again.
he? I was just trying to finish that so people would, yeah, because you got to remember the brain is the consistency of soft butter, and the inside of the skull has lots of sharp bony parts. So
Yeah.
protect your brain and protect your children's brain. Anytime you hit your head, you should.
Okay, where did we leave off? I do not know what happened.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. So she was talking about the difference between Eastern and Western medicine.
Yeah.
And so
Okay,
we weren't very far into it.
okay, let me give it another shot here, and let's hope this thing goes without a hitch. Let's see. No, I want to see if I. All right. You guys see her screen now?
Yep.
Did we get here? Yeah,
I think that's where it quit. Right about there.
right about here? Okay, let's play it again.
Oh, I get really passionate in this area because there's so much we can do to be proactive and not just be like this cute little sitting duck right here waiting. We can actually be empowered and understand that there are things that we can do every single day. There's things we can adopt into our habits of just general living. And when we become aware of some of these things, it makes it easier for us to make choices that will improve our overall health for the short term and the long term. So you do have choices, and this is something that I really like to highlight is your sovereignty. We are these sovereign beings, and you have choices. You get to choose what's right for you. We have this thing called a gut instinct, and although the industry also gives us a bunch of fake processed synthetic food, which makes it hard to like tune into what your gut is telling you because it's angry, it is something that is there and can be tapped into. So I want to highlight a little bit about that so that you guys feel more equipped to make those good choices. So the modern approach to medicine, which is here in the Western world, this is what we see a lot of. It's just designed to manage symptoms. It's just sweeping the problem under the rug and slapping a Band-Aid on it. You know, you've got pain in your body and they're just going to give you painkillers. That's not solving the problem of the pain. That is numbing the pain and ignoring what your body is telling you. Hey, pain's like saying there's a problem here. We need to reroute this, course redirect, and instead we just numb it out with medications and pills. So they're usually made from isolated synthetic agents, which are really hard for our body to recognize, absorb, process, and discard of. So there's then lots of known and unknown side effects that happen. Whereas the natural approach, which is what I always encourage people to partner with and take that journey, it actually addresses root causes and supports the body's needs. So I'm going to specifically talk about this in terms of essential oils because that's where a lot of my background comes from, but it works across the board really when you're looking at natural things, whether it's herbs, essential oils, or even just something as simple as taking your shoes off and connecting to the energy of the earth and discharging the voltage in your body. That's a whole other topic I teach about on a different health summit, but it's really empowering when you understand that you can actually go to the root problem by partnering with plants that have great purpose and a whole variety of uses that can target pretty much anything you got going on you're dealing with or you're trying to avoid happening down the road. And they're safe. You're not going to have all these side effects. Of course, that is when you're using them correctly. There is a wide variety of difference when it comes to the world of essential oils. You need to make sure you're using ones that are certified pure, tested grade, like medicinal oils, not just synthetic perfume, which is what you're trying to get away from, is all this synthetic garbage. But that's something you get when you work with me, or if you're in our community. you get to learn more of the inside scoop on that. And that's something that I feel like I offer to people who choose to work with me is I guide you through knowing that, but just, man, it's so cool when you can have these things at your fingertips that you can use instantaneously at first sign of something coming in, creeping in, and you feel like, oh, you got that tickle in your throat. Like I can tell you exactly what to do when that time occurs. So that's a little of the difference between the modern and the natural approach. Now I want to show you guys this video. I'm going to preface it with, it's going to highlight a couple of essential oils that I have utilized for the last, it's been like 7 years, maybe 8, time flies. And they are so cool to see them in action on like a scientific level. This is like a short little 2-minute video, but it's going to show you kind of the power of plants and what they're doing inside of your body. And just know that all you have to do is get it into your system. You see here, she's dropping it into her hand. That contact absorbs into your bloodstream and gets to work. And all you have to do is be the point of contact is, get it into your system and your body does the rest. Because why? Because our bodies were intentionally created and they know what they're doing. So it's so cool. Let's watch. Don't mind the ad that pops up that I'm sure.
You might have seen videos like this before, but here's the big secret. Anyone can make one of those videos in a
Make it big.
Bacteria have the ability to change their genetic makeup over time for their own self-preservation. Bacteria have their own defensive mechanism. They produce something called a peptidoglycan layer. It's the equivalent of an M&M shell that's protecting the chocolate on the inside. Now, one of the other elements the bacteria are very, very good at making, and that is something called a biofilm. Biofilm is its own very goopy, slimy mess that it covers itself in. So what's now starting to happen is we are finding that once very useful antibacterial medications are no longer effective at all. What that means for us, we have to use stronger antibacterial medications. We have to use more potent antibacterial medications. That comes at a cost to our own bodies. Melaleuca has the ability to come in and start to modify that sludge and remove it so that the oregano can get to the bacteria. And in oregano, there's a product called carvacrol. Carvacrol will bind to that peptidoglycan and it punctures a little hole in there. Once that hole opens, you start to get a passing of ions back and forth. What that does to the bacteria is it allows it to lyse, it means burst open. And we've now accomplished something very dramatic, and that is by doing nothing more than using 2 simple little plant-based essential oils, you have created a very effective antibacterial solution.
All right, hopefully that wasn't too sciencey for any of y'all. I think it's always great to be able to kind of see, so I'm moving Zoom stuff around. I think it's always great to see kind of what is going on below the surface, things we can't see. But to me, it just lights me up because it shows that our bodies are intuitive and they can take these plants and perpetuate their awesomeness into all sorts of areas of our well-being. And so he talked about on there the fact that because so like think about when you go to the doctor if you've got some sort of infection and they give you an antibiotic. Well, if you start using antibiotics, even like the tooth pain and gum pain and things are teething, that has like antibiotics in there. Hand sanitizer has triclosan in there, which works like an antibiotic. All these things are contributing that are not natural, and they're absorbing into your body. And then it's like raising your tolerance so that doctors have to use stronger and stronger antibacterial medications when there are things that could be treated naturally, and you don't have to use those really powerful gut microbiome destroying antibiotics. But they don't tell you that. That is not what most doctors are telling you, not MDs, and that's what's frustrating to me the most, I guess. And so I want to be here to be the other voice, the voice of reason, letting you know that there are things that you can do and have in your household that are going to give you the capabilities that will exceed the outcomes of what those antibiotics and things can do, but in a safer way that doesn't build up your body's natural tolerance and create resistance. So that when you're older and maybe something a little more life-threatening comes in of an infection, maybe you're septic and there's nothing that's going to work because you've used antibiotics in your life. I want to write a different story for you, where you have the opportunity to better your chances and to take those proactive steps for your future. Okay, branch over. Your immune and lymphatic system are tied together, and I just wanted to show you guys this picture because these are all the parts of your body that tie into your immune function. Your lymphatic system, I teach on that separately, but to give you a quick little synopsis, it is kind of the waste management system of your body. There's no organ that runs it. And so it pushes out the toxins, and that's why hydration is really important. But like they collect in your lymph nodes and also in many other places. But you want to make sure that you're supporting your immune system and your lymphatic system. So when I get to sharing about the essential oils, they'll kind of touch in both of these categories. Now I want to highlight the thymus gland because I didn't even know that you had a thymus gland until I came into the world of essential oils many years ago. And I, joined a community of people who were teaching on all sorts of different stuff about the body and wellness. And so when I learned that the thymus gland is part of our body, it's like in your sternum, and learned that it is the training grounds of your immune system, it really lit me up. And I was just like, how many people don't know that? Probably most people don't know we have a thymus gland, and it is the training grounds for your immune system. I love that description of it. It's sweet and simple, and that's what it does. It helps to fight infections, prevent cancers, extend your lifespan, it does all these wonderful things. And so it's important that we know we have it and know how to support it. So if you have a tired thymus gland, you might be feeling easily fatigued, you're lacking drive and motivation in your day-to-day life. If you get sick a lot, you're catching all the colds and everything going around the office, schools, and the kids come home with them, you're catching everything. That's probably a good sign that you need some work there. Chronic illness is obviously a sign, slow wound healing, and then also if you have signs of premature or accelerated aging, you can definitely focus in on your thymus gland. And the cool thing is you can actually work to decalcify it. It actually gets calcium built up over time when we ignore it, but you can reverse the hands of time, if you will, by giving it the proper attention and support that it needs. So all hope is not lost. These are some of the oils that would work great to help support your thymus gland and your overall lymphatic and immune system of your body. And so oregano, which was featured in the video, as was tea tree, also known as melaleuca, those two oils work wonderfully together. Oregano is the heaviest hitter of all these oils, just so you know. It's one that you will use like when you're sick. You're not going to use it every day, but it's great to have on hand when at first sign of any threat that's creeping into your body. Thyme is an oil. Most people know the herb thyme. You never have enough time. That's always what I say. TIME and THYME. You can use thyme every single day. I like to take it in a little veggie capsule or just rub it on the bottoms of my feet. I make a roller ball of it. All that good stuff. I teach you how to do those things. When you come into this community and in this circle of awesome holistic teachers, Arbor Vitae, Rose, those two are wonderful fighters of all the things. Rose is highest frequency oil. There's a blend called Stronger and a blend called On Guard I want to highlight. Stronger is the kids version of On Guard. On Guard has some spicy oils in there, whereas Stronger has oils that would be, I think Rose is in there, not so spicy, so that kids can feel empowered. You don't have to worry about them like misusing it. Like I talked about, there's like some common sense stuff when it comes to using essential oils. So it's nice and diluted with coconut oil. They can rub it right on. You can put it in their backpack. It's just in a nice little simple roller ball. Whereas On Guard, I use this all the time. I use it proactively. I diffuse it. It smells like fall. And I'll touch on diffusing here in a minute. But that's a really great one. It's the immune support blend, and it's really all inclusive. And then there's frankincense. It's the king of oils, has over 100 uses. Everybody should own it. Everybody should use it. It's another daily, if you're doing thyme and frankincense every day, you are doing your body a lot of good. And then the last one's Aroma Touch. I put this one on there because it is really good at moving stuff through and out of your lymphatic system and releasing it. So don't wear aluminum deodorant. It's going to clog up your lymphatic system and your lymph nodes and your armpits, and you want to sweat out those toxins. So drink lots of water, use Aroma Touch, move stuff through. Don't wear aluminum deodorant. There's some hot tips for you. The last one I wanted to highlight is DDR Prime. stands for damaged DNA repair. It's awesome at fighting free radicals. So it's called the cellular complex. It's amazing for immune support. It's also amazing for your brain and nervous system. So wanted to make sure I highlighted that one. It also comes in like a supplement form, makes it easy to take. And last but not least, if you guys enjoyed this content, you want to know more, want to just see what's in the world of proactive, empowering natural remedies and wellness, you can check out my website. You can find me at Sybil Marie at This World's Freedom. You can email me, or you can follow me on social media, scan that little QR code, and it will link you right up. So that's what I've got for you guys tonight. I hope you guys learned some new tips, tricks, took a little golden nugget or two from what I presented, and I'm going to turn it over to our next featured presenter.
All right, there we go. Good job, Sybil. Even though she isn't here, she did a great job, I thought. All right, I'm gonna bring us home here. Let me get to my screen. Okay. Oops. Try that again. Share screen. Okay, can you guys see that? Yes, all right. Go to full screen, get this out of the way. Oops. Oops. Oh, I always pushed the wrong thing down. Present. Why isn't it going to full screen, Kristen?
Because it says present and record. So when you click it, you'll have to go to the other. So click that little back arrow that says present and record. Now it should let you go down to present in the middle, right underneath the purple
Right
button.
here?
There you go. Yep.
All right, thank you so much. Look at that. I don't know what I'd do without these guys on the team. All right, so this is the blank one that I just created. Okay, let's see. Let's go back. There we go. All right. So getting started, and I love what Kristen presented. It is so in line with what I'm talking about. Are your food choices killing you? And this is something I am very, very passionate about. I've learned so much about food in the last probably 10, 15 years. I've always considered myself a healthy person. And what I noticed over the years, what constitutes healthiness has changed over the decades. You know, back in the day when I was growing up, it was eat an apple a day and you'll be healthy. You know, that was pretty much it. That's what you did. You went to the doctor and got your physical, and pretty much that's what you did. And then vitamins came on the scene. So it was like, oh, to be healthy, you have to take vitamins. So we started taking these vitamins, and then supplements came. So it's like, oh, you have to supplement. And then you have all these diets. You've got the keto diet. You've got, you know, all of these things out there. We're inundated. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, the whole health industry. And I just emphasize industry there. It is a for-profit industry. So you have to be very careful. I worked in the food industry, the processed food industry, for over 20 years. I saw how our food is processed and made, and I sat in on discussions with food scientists where they talked about how we're going to get people to eat more of these foods. How can we get more sugar, more salt? What are the things that we can put in the food to make people want to come back to it again and again and again? And really, the more I learned, the more frustrated I got. And then, you know, the more I started really dedicating my life to learn as much as I could about the food choices that we make. So today, my agenda, let's see if we can, here we go. We're going to go through what is food, I don't know why it extended above my screen. See, I'm not good at the animations here. But that's all right. What is food? How did our society get here? And then finally, I'm going to touch on what you can do. So that'll be my points tonight. Okay, what is food? And I really summarized food, and Kristen talked about this specifically. You know, food is sustenance. It's how we maintain life and grow and repair our bodies. At its core form, that's what food is. So if you think about it, I know Alana and I do a fast every 2 months where we really focus on just, you know, basically fruits and nuts and water and those sorts of things. We eliminate all the other stuff from our diet. When we talk about that often is, hey, let's just view food as sustenance. It's just here to help us maintain life and grow and repair our bodies, which is quite different than what this world, you know, the culture that we live in. I mean, food is entertainment, food is fun, food is release, food is all these things. You know, we use it as a reward and all that, but it is really at its core, it's sustenance. And then I say nutrients. So what are the nutrients in our food? Protein, carbohydrates, and fats. That's just at a basic level. Those are the nutrients that our food provides us: protein, carbohydrates, and fats. So you need all those things. Some of the stuff that we're doing now, we're seeing out in the world with, you know, high fat diet, low fat diet, keto diet, all this stuff. It's fine if it's used really in a smart fashion, but you have to be very careful. Just like Sybil was saying with the essential oils, you can misuse even good things. So you have to be very careful about how you're using these things. And then the third way I categorize food is its energy. It's what makes you go and keeps you going throughout the day. So just as Sybil talked about in her presentation, you know, are you fatigued? She said it could be that thymus gland. Sure, it could be. Could be food too, you know. So pay attention to your body. That's the whole key. Pay attention to your body. And if you do get into a situation where, you know, you don't feel as much energy, don't automatically go to, I need more caffeine, or I need a Red Bull or something like that. You know, ask somebody in the natural or holistic health area, hey, what is it? What could that be if I'm feeling fatigued? Chances are there's a way to help you with that, to actually treat at the root cause versus putting a Band-Aid on something. All right, how did we get here? How did we get here to all of these foods that we're eating today? Well, it all started, believe it or not, back in the late 18th and 19th century. That's when we really started to process foods at a higher magnitude, and it was mainly to serve the military. That's what it was all about. It's like, how can we process foods in a faster way, in a more plentiful way, so we can resource the military. Then after World War II, the consumer society kicked in. You remember after World War, we had all these factories built to supply things in the war. And once that wasn't needed anymore, some high-powered folks, I've talked about this before in the Health Summit, got together and they said, how can we utilize this capacity we have in these manufacturing plants? And they decided to purposely create a consumer society where we not only want to provide society with what they need, but we want to tap into what they desire and what they don't necessarily need, but what they want. And it was an intentional process to create this consumer society. You know, our souls are always desiring more and more and more. That's how God designed us. So these folks tapped into that natural tendency for us And that's how we started. And when we started after World War II, this consumer society kicked in. That's when spray drying came to be, freeze drying, juice concentration, artificial sweeteners, coloring agents, and preservatives. All those things that disrupt our bodies, all those things that have negative impact on us over the long haul. You know how we're finding out things every day about how some of these foods we're eating are just terrible. And you look back at, even the government, the foods that they recommended, the 3 square meals, all that stuff it's all manufactured for profit. It literally is. The 3 square meals that was done so the dairy farmers and all the folks could sell more eggs and more sausage and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's crazy if you look back and research all of this stuff. So it brings us to today. And then, next after the World War II deal, convenience foods kicked in the second half of the 20th century. So then it was all about convenience and, TV dinners and how do you get food on the run? And there's 2-income families and all this stuff. Well, all of that has contributed to our society today being more obese than it's ever been in history. We have more disease in our society than we have ever had. So you think about it, the food that we eat, I believe, contributes to a large extent to all of that. So we're poisoning our bodies with the food that we're eating. And then we go to doctors who give us prescription meds, which we've all talked about, that are also doing terrible things to our bodies. And we're spending millions and billions of dollars on hospitals, which really prey on people fearing death. So if we can extend a life for 5 days with a machine that costs millions of dollars, we're investing in it. And is it quality of life, those 5 days that people are getting? No. What I've experienced in my life is if you go the natural and holistic way, you are going to be healthier. You are going to feel healthier. You're going to, what I believe, enjoy a longer life, but not a longer life just in a state where you're not enjoying, but a longer life in a state that you are enjoying and you're vigorous and you're prospering and you're able to enjoy everything that this world was created for you to enjoy. When we go into the 21st century and food safety was a big thing and, eliminate a lot of the contaminants and that sort of thing. And that's good, but underneath that umbrella of food safety, there is a lot of stuff being done to our food as well. And it's going under the moniker of food safety. So overall, my takeaway here is we got here because of money, because of dollars. Okay, again, I work for a huge food company, one of the top 100 food companies, and I saw what was going on there. And everything is driven by the dollar. I made a lot of cereal products, and cereal products are the worst for you. Oh my gosh, they're terrible. All the sugar in there, the processing, the salts, the preservatives, all those things. It's really not good. And we, advertise it as it's really healthy. Get your cereal in the morning and blah, blah, blah. It's almost criminal. It's almost criminal what's happened with that. So as you can see, I'm pretty passionate about this. All these things that you see here, not good. Now, I'm not sitting here to say that I don't eat any of these things that you see down below, right? I do, but I do it just occasionally, and I don't make it a habit, right? So Alana and I call it, we're on the reservation. We're on the reservation most of the time. That is eating healthy, whole foods, all the things that Kristen teaches us about every month. That's where we spend the majority of our time. But yes, we do venture out into these areas every once in a while. And I think that's key too. Kristen has taught us we can't deprive ourselves. We have to, just accept it and be intentional about it. Oh, I'm going to have this donut tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it and I'm just going to do it. That's okay. just don't go on a whim and have donuts around the house every day. So you're popping a dozen a week, that probably isn't a good thing. All right, what can you do? And again, we've all touched on this a little bit. Because of what we've done to the earth, our food doesn't provide us the same nutrients that it once did in the past. And that's a fact, so go organic, absolutely. Go pasture raised, grass fed, wild caught, if you're going to go seafood, do all those things. But unfortunately, we are in the age now where we do need to supplement, because a lot of the nutrients that we would normally get naturally, we're not getting anymore through our food supply. So you just have to be diligent about that and get in a community like ours. It doesn't have to be our community, but get in a community like ours where we can help. We've been down this road. We've got a lot of experience on what works, what doesn't work. Heck, I was able to get off of prescription meds all because of the food I was eating. Just changing my food a little bit, pick up some more nutrients, and the masking that these prescription meds were doing with my heart, all of a sudden weren't needed anymore. So that's my own personal testimonial. That's why I'm passionate about this. So I tell people, minimize ready-made meals, canned goods, cookies, chips, soda, candy, and other packaged items, hot dogs, lunch meat, processed cheese slices or spreads. Eliminate those things or minimize them. Be intentional about it, but don't have them be a staple around your home. Now, there's new technology coming out all the time. There may be some ready-made meals out there that are fine, but check the ingredients. Kristen does a whole thing on ingredients. And I always like to say, if you understand, you read the ingredient label, you understand all the ingredients, the things you recognize, and you have like 5 to 7 ingredients that you can recognize, then you're in pretty good shape. You got no canola oil? No, don't do any canola oil. Terrible, 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 terrible. So look at your ingredients, know your ingredients. Fast food, of course. That was my previous slide. Eliminate fast food all that you can. Now there's a whole new category that I was doing research for tonight. They're calling it ultra processed foods. That's the new category, and it's all about those things, those fast foods that are heavily processed, and they're designed to just taste really good and almost be addictive in their tastes. Food scientists can sit around and they're manipulating those sorts of enzymes and things to make sure that you get addicted to some stuff. Scary. I said supplement strategically and with keen awareness. Okay, I'm a big proponent of, very strategically, the days of the multivitamins, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, I think are over, because if you can get a multivitamin, how do you know which of the vitamins or which of the elements, the nutrients that you're missing? And you could be over supplementing on some areas and under supplementing in others. And then finally, surround yourself with others who share your awareness around food. You cannot, at least I can't be an expert on everything. That's why I love this Health Summit. That's why I love the people in our community, because they are passionate about different areas when it comes to this topic. So surround yourself with others who can speak into you. And it makes this whole journey a lot easier. All right, here's contact information for me. Also, we've got a barcode here, a QR code for our community if you want to join our community. Awesome ways to do that. Got the membership community at Podia. Instagram, we just launched an Instagram business page. We'll be launching a Pinterest business page. We've got a big challenge coming up. So get a hold of any of us if you want to know more about all of that. All right, we've got about 6 minutes left. Are there any questions out there from any of the attendees? Leighton,
Robert. Do we want to stop the recording before we do Q&A?
yeah, good thinking.